Tonight on Stand Up for the Week, Sean Walsh, Josh Widdicombe, Romesh, Ranganathan, Angela Barnes, Simon Evans. But now, please welcome your host, Paul Chowdhry.
Welcome to Stand Up for the Week. What's happening, white people? You know, I'm the first ever Asian host of this show. Because we had John Richardson, Patrick Kilty, Kevin Bridges. So that's basically an Englishman, an Irishman, and a Scotsman. And now an Indian. Looks like they're getting their hosts from a man goes into a pub joke. Next, this is going to be presented with a horse with a long face. Or Paul Gascoigne. See, everyone has got their designated subject area on this show. I've got my own designated area. It's gangster shit. I'll talk about everything gangster on this show. I don't know if you've heard about this. A Greek gypsy couple have been accused of kidnapping a white baby. You hear about this? It's pure racism. I can see the resemblance with the family. You seen a picture of them? They look exactly like their parent. Look at this. I can't see a problem here. I think you took Just Do It way too seriously. Of course it's their baby. They got the receipt and everything. Channel 4 are playing a new series, My Big Fat Gypsy Abduction. A family of black people with one suspiciously white member. The last family to do that we'll call the Jacksons. See, when a gypsy family buy a white baby, there's an outcry. But when Madonna gets a black baby, she gets to keep the bastard. What you're essentially seeing here is the gypsy Angelina Jolie. It's confusing, though, because it's the thing, a lot of kids don't look like their parents. I look nothing like my parents. It's good news for young people in Pakistan this week, because now they've got their own versions of famous comic books. It's the first ever Pakistani comic book. And let's have a look at some of the other possibilities that they could do out there. I've been thinking about this. This is another version of Batman and Robin. That's Black Man and Robin. And I got this one. That's Bob the Burka. This is another one. This is Postman Pat L. You see, they've done this all over the world, you see. In Thailand, they've got their own version of X-Men. The Turkish man who invented the doner kebab has died. It's a terrible pitter, isn't it? Sorry, pity. It's a terrible pity. As soon as he died, they stuck a skewer up his arse and spun him around. If you heard about that, he'd be turning in his grave. Here's a picture of him in the coffin. They're not going to bury him, they're just going to chuck him in the road. Get pissed, mate. Chuck him in the road, Dave. I mean, obviously, don't joke about this because his family were absolutely gutted. He was very close to his nan. Any Boris Johnson fans in here tonight? You know, Boris Johnson said he's the only politician that believes in pro-immigration. Can you believe that? Of course he's pro-immigration. Did you know he's an immigrant himself? He comes from Twatvia. I found a very rare picture of Boris Johnson when he was a baby with his family. I don't know if you know about this. This is Boris Johnson when he was younger with his family. Are you ready for your first act? Now it's time for all of the entertainment news. Would you please welcome to the stage Sean Walsh.
Thank you. Yes. It's good to be back. Woo! Yes. How's it going? Yes. Good. So, Deborah Meaden has been voted off Strictly Come Dancing. Yeah, no, it's happened, I'm afraid. Here she is with her dance instructor. Here, look there. There we are. She sort of looks like a divorcee that's gone on holiday and brought back a Turkish waiter. I love you too, Deborah. When are we going to invest in my idea? Come on, kebab shop strip club. This is an amazing idea. Come on, please. I love you. Some people feel sorry for Deborah. Don't feel sorry for Deborah. She's a multi-millionaire. Her job is sitting next to a huge pile of money, smashing dreams. I hope she learns from this. You know, I really do. I hope she learns from this. Now she knows what it feels like to be rejected. Yeah, but at least when she gets rejected, she goes back to her mansion. Her life continues. Not like the poor people she rejects on Dragon's Den. You know, when she says, I'm out, whole life ruined. 25 years that guy's been working on that egg bin. She doesn't care. I don't care about your egg bin. Get out of my attic. Go away, you're worthless here. Go home and crush your head with your egg bin. Sit in your living room. He has to go home, not to a mansion, a living room, surrounded by prototypes of egg bins. What am I going to do? A little note for an idea he has about sleeping bags for hamsters. That's it. And he doesn't get comforted by other bin designers. They don't come up to him, oh, everything's going to be okay. He doesn't have a little chat with Tess Daly. No, he has to go downstairs, try not to cry, and be interviewed by a man that looks like he was made by Jim Henson. In other news, X Factor is currently back on our televisions, but we're a few weeks in now, so we've even passed the best bit. Now the contestants can actually sing. No one wants this. I don't want to watch that. If these producers had any brains, they'd do X Factor backwards. Much better. Start off with a competent singer and build up to a room full of freaks.
You and you heads, shoulders, knees and toes,
You know the ones you get at the beginning? The sort of people that you see at fruit machines at service stations. Those people. I don't want to see talent. No one does. I want to see failure. We all do. We're British. That's what we like. Isn't it? What do we do when we see someone drop a tray of beers? That's it. Hey! Yeah! Get in, broken glass. He's probably soaking wet, stinks of beer. He's gonna have to buy another round. Hey! They should take the initial rounds of X Factor and apply it to more programmes. You know, and make it so much more entertaining. Countdown. How much better would that be? You know, not these clever people. I want people that are in the bottom sets at school. I've got 2. OK, John, what have you got? Same. Even good programmes. The Great British Bake Off. Great programme. Broke all the records. 10 million people watching it. But even that would have been better. Wouldn't it? Paul Hollywood, food poisoning, spraying shit all over the marquee. Mary Berry covered in blood, severed thumb. Ah! Melon Sue having to run to the BP to get some Mr. Kipling. Coming back, there's a woman with black hands smoking. I forgot to use oven gloves! That's the sort of programme I'd watch. Much more entertaining. The judges' line-up this year on X Factor is, it's almost the same. Nicole Schlichting. Nicole Schlichting is there. You know Nicole Schlichting from the Pussy. You know, Nicole Schlichting. She's returned, she's back, she's doing it again. She does this thing, I've watched it, she does this thing where she has to go and work for a day with her contestants. I think she chooses to. She goes, she works there to sort of show that she's like us. She's one of the normal people. Just like us, normal people. This series, she did work at Greg's. She worked at Greg's. Oh, Nicole, you're just like me. Oh, working at Greg's. You want to be like me? Don't work at Greg's. Eat Greg's. I want to see Nicole in a high street holding that brown paper bag that's dripping with the tears of a sausage roll with chicken madras pasty dripping down her chin, searching for a bin. I've got 28 headaches. I wish I hadn't had so many Jaeger bombs. Help me. Then we can maybe chat. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Sean Walsh. Thank you very much. Take care. Goodbye. Cheers.
Sean Walsh. Are you ready for your next act? With the week's headline news stories, please welcome Josh Widdicombe.
Oh, yes, hello, thank you, yeah. It is a pleasure to be here, thank you. I'm going to talk to you about the main news stories this week. Sir, in the front row, what would you guess would be the main news story this week?
Oh, storms.
The storms, bloody hell. I knew it was going to be a bad storm when my mum texted me on Sunday night to inform me that my dad had put the wheelie bin in the shed. Which has got to be the most Devonshire text anyone has ever received. That was still a better warning of the storm, I would say, than the coverage on the news. This was the map they showed on the weather the day before the storm. There it is. No idea what that means. I'm looking at that. All I'm going is 80% chance of bunting. The bake-off will be starting off in the west, and there's going to be moving across Britain for the rest of the day, and stay in your house if you don't want to get hit with a flan. It's unbelievable, that. I mean, I don't know why they do this. It's like an exam question trying to work out the weather on these. They might as well say, if a cloud leaves Bristol at 3 p.m. and travels at 70 miles an hour, at what point should you put your bin in the shed? Why do they make it so complicated? All we want to know is what to wear. They should just come on and go, in summary, a cagoule and mittens. And now for the long-term forecast, don't wear Crocs. That's nothing to do with the weather, they just look shit. What they should do is just come out wearing the right clothes, and then you know that. I wouldn't tune in a heatwave for fear of seeing Michael Fish looking like this. Coverage is terrible. They give you all this weird advice. Don't make any unnecessary drives. Who is doing that? Oh, storm's coming. Well, I don't need to go anywhere. But I think I'll go for a bit of a drive. Where are you going? Oh, past the rickety tree, along the seafront, and then go some figures of eights on the icy pond. I'll be back later. Should I tell the kids I love them? No, I'll leave it. I'll do that when I get home. And people complained because their travel was disrupted. Do any of you have your travel disrupted? Yeah, and you were delighted because it means you don't have to go to work. Yeah, they've got these special trains. I think give them a chance. They said they've got special trains that go out to clear the way. Although I would argue, perhaps these are the trains that we should be putting passengers on. Rather than the ones that are derailed by a leaf. Those people complaining their flights had been cancelled. I wouldn't complain if I turned up on Monday and my flight was cancelled. I'd complain if I turned up and my flight was the only one that wasn't cancelled. When the announcement goes up, flight EasyJet E4593 is going to have a go for it. We'll be flying at a slightly faster pace. The shuttle bus will be taking off in 5 minutes. You get there, the mask's already down. But here's the safety thing, just assume the brace position now. Do you want to check my passport? No, you won't need one of them where you're going, mate. Another big news story this week concerns these two people, Angela Merkel and Barack Obama. There they are, yes. And if you don't know, it's come out that perhaps America have been tapping the phone of Angela Merkel. Initially, I misread this and thought it was a bigger story than it was when I was told that Barack Obama was tapping Angela Merkel. Apparently, right, they've been tapping her phone. She's, one of the reasons they've been doing it since 2002 on the same number. Is she the only world leader with a Nokia 3310? Angela Merkel is still on her pay-as-you-go contract. The president, she seems to send a lot less text towards the end of the month. I mean, you're in charge of Germany. You can afford to upgrade. How much do you like Snake? President, we've got big news. Angela Merkel's phone can only hold a maximum of 10 texts. I don't even know why they're tapping Merkel. She is a boring politician. Berlusconi, that is the person whose phone you want to tap. Because you are going to see some fucked up shit. I mean, he's the only person that ends every text with that smiley with the shades and the weird sticky out tongue, isn't it? I mean, I feel sorry for the spy that is intercepting his bunga bunga text. Thank you very much. My name is Josh Widdicombe. Cheers, goodbye.
Still to come, Romesh, Ranganathan, Angela Barnes, Simon Evans.
Welcome back to Stand Up for the Week. Are you having a good time? Now, we've managed to get another Asian guy. I've got one of my brothers on the show. You know? It's like a buy one, get one free deal. Obviously, he's the free one. Right, it's time for this week's sports news. Would you please welcome to the stage, Romesh, Ranganathan.
Hello. We all right? I just want to thank my cousin Paul for getting me on the show. Anyway, I'm breaking boundaries here tonight, right? Because I'm an Asian guy. You're thinking, oh, he's going to be doing multicultural. He's going to be doing brown stuff. I'm not. Yeah? I'm doing sport. And tonight I want to talk about racism in sport, right? First issue up. This man, Yaya Toure, right? He plays for Manchester City. He got racially abused when he was playing for Man City against CSKA Moscow. And he said, you know, if there's something that doesn't get done about this, then he's asking black players to boycott the World Cup in Russia. Now, I had no idea that Yaya Toure was a commander-in-chief of black players. Some of them might be making their own mind up. They're not stormtroopers, mate. And the thing is, I don't understand why that's a threat, saying that all the black players are going to boycott the World Cup. I mean, Russia don't have any black players. So what you're basically saying is, if your fans keep on being racist, we're going to give you the best possible chance of winning the World Cup. What the hell are you on about? Hey, one of the sanctions against teams whose fans are racist is that your team can get relegated. Now, I don't know about you, but this gives me a cunning little plan. Because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy shirts of teams that I bloody hate. For me, it'd be Man United, Chelsea, Three Bridges women's netball team, They know why. And then I'm going to turn up at one of their games in their shirts. I'm going to start monkeying it up. See if I can get them sent down. It's a great plan. But it's a little bit complicated for me because I'm actually brown. I'm worried that somebody's going to see me doing that and think, holy shit, they actually do that. I mean, the complicating factor of this is this. Gareth Bale. I mean, he actually looks like a monkey. That's the problem. And the issue that you've got here is you can never tell him, right? Because there'll always be a black player on the field. You can't go, oh, 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 and then go, no, mate, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to him. He actually looks like a monkey. I want to talk about Alex Ferguson. Alex Ferguson, he wrote a new autobiography. Imagine if the title, My Autobiography. Now, this is the second one of his books. It's the second book he's written. The first one was all sweetness and light. It was lovely. The second one, he's properly lost it, didn't he? It's like when you have the first book, I think the first book is like when you're at a work meeting, like an appraisal. Are there any problems? Well, there's a couple of issues, but I think everything's sort of all right. Not that bothered, to be honest with you. The second book is like him at his leaving do. He's a prick. She's a slag. He's been sleeping with her for 6 months, and Neil, when we were at that conference in Cardiff, I pissed in your milk, you arsehole. And the thing that I found really weird is that Fergie, he talks about David Beckham. I think Bex is a ledge, right? He talks about David Beckham. He sold David Beckham, and what instigated the sale of David Beckham is David Beckham got a new haircut, and then he refused to take his hat off at the table, and then Fergie thought, no, I'm not having this, mate. You can piss off. Now, Ryan Giggs shagged his brother's missus, and he slept with another woman. He still plays for Man United. So basically, what that's telling me is, in Fergie's world, you can fuck around as much as you like, as long as you take your hat off when you do it. I have been Romesh, Ranganathan. This has been The Sports. Thank you very much. Good night.
Romesh Ranganathan. Are you ready for your next act? We've got a new addition to the show. She's a very funny woman, and she's here to run down on first world problems. Please make some noise and give it up for Angela Barnes.
My name's Angela. I am going to be talking to you about first world problems. If you don't know what that means, I'll explain to you. What it means is basically these are the news stories. Probably wouldn't bother you all that much if you lived in Syria. These are the news stories for people who haven't got enough to worry about, basically, is what I'm going to be talking to you about. So the first thing I want to talk to you about tonight is Jeremy Hunt. I was so careful how I said that. Jeremy Hunt has had an idea. I know, who knew? He's had an idea because he thinks that our old people are too lonely, right? And he's right. And he's got an idea to combat that. Unfortunately, his idea to combat loneliness is to give them iPads. Right, now, I don't know who she is. This is generic old lady with an iPad. I thought she looked quite sweet. I've called her Dorothy. I thought she looked quite sweet. Then I thought, I don't know what she's looking at. And I don't know what her other hand's doing. Dirty Dorothy. When I first saw the headline, right, I got quite excited. It just said iPads for old people, right? I thought it was a straight swap. And I mean, really, is an iPad really an old person's priority at the moment? Do you know what I mean? We're in times of fuel crisis, right? Maybe if they pre-installed it with one of those apps with the log burning thing on it, you know, to give the illusion of a bit of warmth, maybe. I don't know. And presumably they're going to post these iPads out to old people, right? And they're going to get them through the door, and not all of them are going to know what they are. I just see these old people having conversations with each other. Did you get one of those iPads? Yeah, I did. Have you tried it? Yeah, I have, yeah. Not as absorbent as the tenor lady, are they? I mean, I'm not saying that all old people are too stupid to use an iPad, right? I'm just saying that for every Silver Surfer, there's going to be 5 old ladies pissing on them. That's all I'm saying. Because I gave my old iPad to my nan to use, right? And she's picked it up pretty well, to give her a due. I helped her get onto Facebook, right? And that's quite fun in itself, right? But it's a bit sad, because nan's in her 90s, right? So I got her on it. She only had 3 friends. And then 2 friends. Then 1 friend. Then no friends. But Nan was well happy. She thought she'd won Facebook. Her status updates are quite fun. Is that Nan poked Mabel. Mabel didn't respond. Nan phoned ambulance. But I've got my Nan using Skype, right? That was quite fun. She's quite good at it, right? But I don't like Skyping my Nan, because it worries me, right? Because I can't always be sure whether Skype's buffering or she's having a stroke. The next story I want to talk to you about is something that's a recurring theme, I think, in first world problems, and that is the theme of obesity. And the story this week involves doctors and the fact that research has shown that doctors being impolite to obese people makes them more likely to run for the biscuit tin, right? Well, at least they're running. Just say, let's just move the biscuit tin further away. But GPs have been told, right, that they have to tell their patients that they're overweight in a more positive way, right? Something along the lines of, congratulations, Mrs. Davis, you have the highest blood sugar level that this practice has ever seen. And it's not the doctor's fault, is it, if overweight people can't handle the truth? It's like, doctor, are you calling me fat? So, well, we are having this consultation in Burger King. I have a lot of weight issues. About 3 years ago, I lost about 42 pounds, right? Now, anywhere else in the world, that would have got an instant standing ovation. Oh, well, thank you. I'm getting one. Look at that. Thank you very much. That's very unusual. Usually in Britain, you just get, what, fat bird stops putting cake in her mouth for 5 minutes. What, she want a medal? That's what you usually get. My mum was the worst, right? She phoned me up when I was on the diet. She phoned me up to see how it was going, right? And it was just before Christmas, 2010. And she said, how's the diet going? And I said, it's good, thanks, Mum. I bought a new pair of jeans today, size 12. So she went, oh. She said, your Christmas present's an 18. Then rather than say, it's all right, I kept the receipt, she said, oh, you'll grow back into it. Thing is, she was bloody right. But recently, though, right, good news for us comfort eaters. Overeating has now been classified as a new mental disorder. Yeah? Yeah? Oh, yeah? It's called binge eating disorder, right? Which basically, it's like bulimia for people who don't like the sicky bit. That's what it is. It's what people used to call being a greedy pig. And, it's sad because people who binge eat, we're often quite low and depressed, and I'm pretty sure calling us mentally ill isn't going to alleviate that. Right? It's like, yes, you are now fat and mental. Yeah. Here, have a straitjacket. Good luck getting the lid off the Quality Street tin now, fatso. Thank you very much for having me. I've been Angela Barnes. Thank you very much.
Still to come, Simon Evans.
Welcome back to Stand Up for the Week. Are you ready to keep the show moving tonight? Now it's time for all the news from Middle England. Would you please welcome to the stage Simon Evans?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Good evening. How the devil are you? You well? Excellent. Here I am representing Middle England. Delighted to be here, representing Hove, specifically, Brighton and Hove. But I'm here to talk about topical matters. Brighton has been in the news, of course, this week, as everyone has mentioned. The storm, which was buffeting our seafront. 20 pairs of arseless chaps were ripped from their owners and flung into the sea. I did consider talking to you about energy prices, which is, of course, a concern to Middle England. Energy prices are massive. I actually received a phone call. I promise you this is true. I received a phone call day before yesterday at home from British Gas, who had noticed that I had left the fold and gone to another supplier and were hoping to draw me back in. They were actually ringing me up to encourage me while the newspaper was lying on the kitchen table in front of me, telling me that a near 10% price hike by British Gas had been announced. A completely illegitimate, unjustifiable raise. It's as if somebody rings you up and says, "Hello, I've just spaffed all over your mother's face." Fancy lunch? No, I don't. At least give it a day or two, do you know what I mean? But I don't want to talk to you about energy prices because something else crossed my radar. I became aware that Russell Brand, some would argue the leader of our profession, Russell Brand, has appeared on Newsnight, interviewed by Jeremy Paxman, and this interview went viral on YouTube, over 8 million clicks and counting. 8 million, presumably young people linked to it from Facebook or whatever, perhaps unfamiliar with the news format programme before their first introduction to current affairs. Very exciting for many people. It's bizarre, actually, watching the whole thing, given the fact that Russell Brand is famously named after two things that you can do to cattle. It is odd that Paxman fails to do the third most enjoyable thing you can do to cattle, which is to grill them. It is perhaps the weakest interview I've ever seen. It was bizarre. I don't know if did many of you watch it? Yeah, you've seen it. It takes place in Russell Brand's hotel room, which is humiliating for Paxman to begin with. He normally is comfortable in a studio with a swivel chair and a desk and some files. Instead, he's sitting there in an easy chair, which he doesn't really know how to recline in. Paxman at one point appears to be wondering why his sleeve was stuck to the chair. It's an embarrassing and humiliating situation for him. And he responds badly. He cowers in his chair while Brand gesticulates at him, and he tries, Paxman, to use language which he thinks will win over the younger vote. He says at one point, "Isn't it the case that you just can't be asked to vote?" Thinking that using the word asked in that context will win over young minds. In reality, of course, young minds are won over by the way Russell Brand speaks, which is in fact like a 19th century fairground barker. "Oh, I could be asked to vote, Jeremy, my love. It's not that I lack the industrial application to engage with the electoral manifestation of my statute, blah, blah, blah." The point is, he is let off the hook on everything. His core point, his great manifesto, is that there's no point in voting because that doesn't change anything. What we need is a revolution, and more to the point, he can see it happening. He believes we are on the verge of revolution. Let me say this one thing clearly. If you take nothing else away from what I have to say this evening, remember this and understand it. There has never been a generation of people in any country in the world ever in the history of mankind less close to revolution than the British people are right now. Never been a more successful, comfortable and comprehensive programme of anaesthetisation of an entire population. We have our smartphones, we have our 42-inch plasma screens, we have Premiership, we have X Factor, we have Strictly. We have no interest whatsoever. We can't even get off our asses to turn the TV over, let alone overthrow the state. It's ridiculous. Revolutions take work and sacrifice, or at least a bit of mild discomfort. We have no stomach for it whatsoever. The people are comfortable, they're reasonably well off, and best of all, the work of absolute genius, the poor are fat. The poorer you are, the fatter you are. It's an absolute stroke of genius. Whoever came up with that, at least in the old days, the downtrodden, the miserable dregs of society who were discarded by their leaders were hungry. They were lean. They felt a grumbling, gnawing sensation in their guts that eventually drove them to the barricades. That is not going to happen now. But my My absolute favourite moment of the whole thing was the bit at which Jeremy Paxman says, so if there were to be a revolution and we did overthrow the state, what would you put in its place? At which point Russell said, I don't know, Jeremy, I'm just a comedian. Well, I'm just a comedian too, OK? But if I'm walking down the road and somebody says, excuse me, mate, my car won't start, can you give us a hand? I don't go over, flip the bonnet open, rip out the battery, short the leads, remove the distributor cap, open the petrol tank and piss in the tank, and then go, I'm sorry, mate, I'm just a comedian. I politely decline. I'm just a comedian goes first. Before you fuck up the entire thing you've come to save. That's all from me. I've been Simon Evans. Thank you very much. Take care. Good night.
Simon Evans. So that's all we got time for this week. You've been a great crowd. We'll see you next week.
This week, according to the papers, Justin Bieber was snapped coming out of a brothel in Brazil. He denied this. Here he is. He's hidden under a blanket.